All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast. We're on episode number 142 today, and I hope you are having yourself a great day. I hope you had a great weekend and a great past week. I hope you had some progress made in your life. And today, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about being coachable. And this is something that I accidentally did when I was a little kid. And it's something that I think I proceeded to make a part of my behavior moving forward because one, I was raised to respect authority, and I was raised to understand that I wasn't always going to have all the answers to things. And if I closed myself off to possibly finding what some of those solutions are from other people, like other people coaching me on things or teaching me on things, then I wouldn't really make that much progress in my life, right? I think it's very important to realize that we do not have all of the answers. And there are other people that have answers that we want, and we have to actually be coachable in order to allow those answers to positively influence our lives. Now, to be completely honest, this is something that I think I was good at it when I was younger. And I got better at it as I got into high school and into college. And I'll tell a quick story real quick when I was little. But I think over the last couple of years, I haven't been as good at it as I have been previously. And I'm going to hit back on that podcast that I did a couple weeks ago, podcast 139, the one where I was very vulnerable. And I talked about how sometimes I have a hard time admitting that I'm not feeling good, I'm stressed, or something negative is in my life. And I don't want to tell people about it. And I don't want to allow myself to actually be helped because I have so much, right? And that is something that I'm trying to do a better job of actually admitting, like, hey, I could actually use some help here. Like, I don't know how to do this. And the interesting thing about getting to that point of actually admitting, hey, like, I could use some help with this thing, or could you coach me on this, is you're consciously admitting a vulnerability. And sometimes when we are trying to be vulnerable, it feels weak. It feels like I'm not smart enough to realize what's going on. I'm not strong enough to realize how to do this. When really, as I've talked about in nauseum, and it's so interesting because I talk about this so much, yet it affects me in my own life too. We know that being vulnerable and actually asking for help and actually allowing somebody to help you is actually one of the strongest things that we can do as human beings, because it shows people that we are okay with admitting something that we could use some guidance on. And that takes strength in and of itself. And when I was a little kid, I played basketball for a Pop Warner basketball team. It was a Hilton Select basketball. And one of the coaches told my father that I was the most coachable player he had ever coached. And I was in the car ride on the way home after this coach had told my father, and my father said, "Deej, that's a great quality to have, right? Like, you know what that means is you listen, and then you change your behavior based upon what that coach told you." And really, what that is that's learning, right? That's being really good at learning something in the same environment, different behavior, different result, right? And so I kind of prided myself, I think, especially being an athlete, right? We're coached by people who we initially, right, we perceive they probably know more than us in that area, right? Like I thought every coach that I ever played for knew more than me about that sport, because in my head, I'm like, why would they be coaching it then? Right? Like they obviously have to know a decent amount about the actual sport we're playing in order to coach it. So I kind of went into every sport or every program that I was a part of with that mindset of listen to your coach because he knows a lot of things. And I liked that, right? I liked that guidance, and I liked realizing that I still had areas to improve. And that, I think, is such a key piece to your own personal development, your own financial development, your own professional development, I think just developing your whole life is actually realizing where you can improve and actually believing that you can improve in certain areas. And when it comes to the idea of improvement, sometimes I think we can notice a gap, right? We can notice a gap of where we currently are to where we want to be. That is essentially the improvement. And that is where I think our egos can kind of start to jump in and be like, no, I don't need that right now, right? Like, I'm good. I have all the answers. I can do this on my own. When really, I think that the progress that we make in our lives is based upon how much help we are willing to receive. And I actually just kind of thought of that in my head. It sounds kind of cool when I say it. The progress in our life is determined by how much help we are willing to receive. Because what I've realized is when I do ask for help, I get it in waves. And that's a testament to the people that I'm lucky to have in my life, whether they are coaches, whether they are parents, whether they are mastermind group members, or whether they are business partners. Whenever I've had the courage to ask for help, or whenever I have gotten to a vulnerable state and overcome that limiting belief of I have too much to need help, those people have responded like heroes. Those people have said, how can I help? Like, tell me what you need, right? What do you need right now? And they have helped guide me in the ways that I need to go. And it's something that I want to continue to work on moving forward, right? Like, how much help can I really get? Because each time I've asked for that help, it's made me feel better. And it's helped me get to those, right, close down that gap of improvement from where I am to where I necessarily want to go. So I think it's a critical thing to really address how coachable are you in your life. And I like to use the word coachable because it makes sense in my head better from like an athletic standpoint. Like if you think of like a head football coach, right? Or a head basketball coach, tennis coach, lacrosse coach, and then you think about the players, how coachable are those players, right? Assuming that the coach knows what they're talking about, right? And the coach has some passion in it, and the coach has good leadership skills, right? There's many different variables that can really go into if me as a player is willing to be coached by somebody who I'm okay with actually coaching me. But nonetheless, we have to make sure that we are coachable, because if we aren't coachable, or if we aren't willing to be helped, or if we aren't willing to be vulnerable, then we might just stay exactly where we are. And that doesn't sound that good. That sounds kind of like complacency. Or that sounds kind of like if you aren't growing, you're dying. Well, in order for me to grow, I have to actually look at the areas of my life that I can grow. And I actually have to look at the things that maybe I don't want to look at, right? And that's where that vulnerability starts to come into play. And that's where that courage starts to come into play. And that's where that belief of I'm not always going to have the answers. I'm not always going to know what to do. And I could use some help and some coaching on what the next steps could possibly be. And that's why a lot of the work that we do, whether it's with business teams and helping them raise their emotional intelligence and improving their mental fitness, or whether it's with the young men that I coach in their 20s, helping them gather more clarity with their lives, stop being confused young men in their 20s, become more confident, find certainty, build evidence in the areas of their lives that they want to be confident with, and then be consistent with those things over time. All of that requires a level of coachability. All of that does. So I think important piece for anybody listening today, address your coachability, right? How vulnerable are you willing to be to actually allow yourself to get to where you want to go by actually asking for help when you need it? So I'm right there with you. All right. I don't want you to ever think that I'm a master of this right now, because I am as much of a student of this as you may be. You may even be farther than me in this. Yet this is just something that I'm actively trying to do in my pursuit towards becoming more and serving more people and maybe making this world a little bit better place. So Thank you so much for your time and your energy as always on the Libraries and Weight Rooms podcast. We are on episode number 142, and that is 142 weeks in a row. We have not missed one yet, so I'm so proud of that. But nonetheless, thank you so much for your time and your energy. If you enjoyed what we talked about today, always very grateful. If you give us a rating, leave us a comment or a subscribe on our YouTube channel, or you can even leave us a review on Apple Podcasts as well. So thank you so much for tuning in today, and keep doing hard things, and we'll talk to you soon.